The Colorado Rockies take the third game of a four-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals by a final score of 6-5 on this lovely Saturday afternoon here in the Mile High City. It looked like it was also a lovely afternoon out there in St. Louis, and I know Rockies fans are happy because Ezequiel Tovar stayed hot, Charlie Blackmon is turning back the clock, and Ryan Feltner had himself a day on the mound. And let's also say this, the Rockies bullpen held a one-run lead. Plenty to dive into today on the Locked On Rockies POSTCAST. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rockies POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, what is going on, everybody? I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope you guys are doing well out there, as we said, on this lovely Saturday, June the 8th. It is a gorgeous day here in the Mile High City, so I don't blame many people if they were out and about doing their thing, because this is a great weekend to be, out doing some hikes, on the lake, whatever it might be. But lo and behold, the Colorado Rockies also delivering some positivity on this weekend, on this Saturday, rather, I should say, with a 6-5 victory over the St. Louis Cardinals. And really, the score, I don't think, is reflective of how good the Rockies played today. We'll dive into kind of some of the ins and outs here, but some errors really costly. St. Louis's offense has not been very good this year, so the Rockies really helped St. Louis out a bit today. But all in all, the Rockies able to do just enough behind an incredible day from shortstop Ezequiel Tovar, Charlie Blackmon doing his thing, and Ryan Feltner as well. So we'll dive into it on today's episode of your Locked On Rockies POSTCAST. But this is Locked On Sports, your team every day. And if this is your first time tuning in to a Locked On Rockies POSTCAST, I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. But long story short, we're going to be here on YouTube, on the Locked On Rockies audio feed as well, after just about each and every Colorado Rockies game the rest of the way, breaking down exactly what we just saw. So we'll laugh together, we'll cry together, and we'll break these games down together as well. So make sure to hit that subscribe button on this brand new Locked On Denver YouTube channel. Super excited about this partnership between Locked On Sports and Mile High Sports. So it should be a good time. And like I said, today's one of those days where we get to have a fun show. We get to talk about what the Rockies did well, although we will dive into what they did not do so well, because their defense, specifically Eleris Montero and Alan Trejo, almost cost the Rockies this game. But at the end of the day, it is a 6-5 victory. The Rockies improved now to 23-41 on the year. St. Louis sitting at 30-33 as well. So, it's going to be interesting. Oh, let me also say this. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit our friends over at FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. But it was interesting. Full transparency on my end, folks. I was in a bit of a food coma for the first few innings of this game. I went to Waffle House with some buddies this morning, and look, man, I love me some Waffle House, but that All-Star special sitting in my stomach. You ever gone to Waffle House? You get the whole smorgasbord, the scrambled eggs with cheese, the blueberry nougat waffle, bacon, all that good stuff. Full transparency, I was asleep for the first couple of innings, but I woke up right as the action was going on, because it was kind of a slow burn. This game was, I would say, specifically for the Rockies. They did end up scoring a run early in this one in the first inning. Charlie Blackmon, who has 10 total bases in this series and is hitting close to now 260. Where is Chuck? He's in 259 on the year. He had 3 hits today, comes around to score twice, 1 walk as well. So good stuff from Chuck Nasty, who's turning back the clock. But he leads this game off today in the top of the first inning with a single to right field. And then Brenton Doyle from there was able to draw a walk. I also let's talk about this lineup construction, because we'll talk about Tovar a little bit later on in the program here. But Tovar hitting 3, so Blackmon hitting leadoff, Brenton Doyle hitting second, Ezequiel Tovar hitting third, Ryan McMahon hitting fourth, Eleris Montero hitting fifth. And then it kind of falls into suit there. Greg Jones gets some playing time today. Jacob Stallings catching in place of Elias Diaz. Jake Cave, who had a big RBI. Michael Toglia, who is the hero potentially in yesterday's game. And really just this whole series was bad in this game as well as Alan Trejo in that 9-hole. So a little bit of a different lineup construction and configuration from Buddy Black, but I like it, especially if you're going to get results from guys like Charlie Blackmon and Brenton Doyle at the top of the lineup. And Brenton Doyle has some speed, which we'll hone in on throughout the course of this program as well. But with that leadoff single from Charlie Blackmon to right field. Brenton Doyle draws that walk, and then Chuck was actually able to advance to third on a throwing error from the catcher of the St. Louis Cardinals. And then Ezequiel Tovar, get the day started for the Rockies offensively. He rips a single to left field to put the Rockies up 1-0, and he was phenomenal today. Was Tovar, 4 hits, 4 RBI, 2 runs scored. I mean, 10 total bases, a career high for him. He was sensational, and he gets it started, like I said here today, with that. With the single to left field, when the Rockies go up 1-0. So outside of that, it was a rather slow start for the Rockies and really both of these teams collectively. The Rockies get a run in the first, and then the next runs of the game actually don't come until the 6th inning, believe it or not. And that comes with the Rockies in the top of the 6th. And they just continue to put some pressure on, which is what you love to see. Ezequiel Tovar once again hits his first home run of the day to get it started for the Rockies in the 6th inning, a home run to left field, his 9th of the season, puts the Rockies up 2-0. And I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to catch the Rockies postgame on TV, but I was listening to it as I was getting set up here for the Locked On Rockies postcast. And Ezequiel Tovar, through translator Alan Trejo, I actually think Tovar was speaking on his own for this answer, but was asked about the power with the 2 home runs today. And he says, every time I hit a home run, it's almost like it's an accident. And Drew Goodman made the excellent point. Well, he's going to be accidentally on pace for about 25 home runs this season because that's his 9th of the year already. And like I say already, I know 9 isn't a ton, but for Ezequiel Tovar, who we know is a plus defender and can certainly, hit for a little bit of gap-to-gap power, but is not known for his power stroke. If he can be a consistent 15, 20, 25-plus home run guy on a year-in and year-out basis, the Rockies are going to have themselves, they really do, I don't even want to say have, but they already have one of the best young, blooming, up-and-coming players in this sport. He's 22 years old, about to turn 23 here in a few days. So, you love to see that from Ezequiel Tovar. He's been as good, he should be talked about like Ellie De La Cruz and talked about like O'Neal Cruz with the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds, respectively. I mean, his numbers are on par with guys of that caliber. So Ezequiel Tovar, as I said, 6th inning, home runs left field, Rockies up 2-0. And then Elevis Montero hits a double after Ryan McMahon strikes out. So he gets on second base, and then Jake Cave winds up driving him in a little bit later on in the inning, with a single to center field. That puts the Rockies up 3-0. So you're feeling pretty good, especially with what you were able to get out of Ryan Feltner, who we'll lock in on here in the second segment. What a great outing for him. His final stat line and pitching line is not reflective of how dominant he was on the line or on the mound, because his defense did not help him out and almost blew this game for the Rockies. So we'll talk about Mr. Feltner a little bit later on in the show, as I said. But good stuff from Montero and Jake Cave to put the Rockies up 3-0. But then St. Louis punches back here in that bottom of the 6th inning. So why don't we hit a quick break, though, and then we can kind of talk about how the tide had turned throughout this game, because this now is when we get into Ryan Feltner, and I want to spend a bulk of this second segment talking about him so we can kind of weave them in here together real quick. So let's hit a break, and we'll come right back here on the Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro, back in a few minutes. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, guys. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com to get your bets down today, because there is a lot to bet on right now. I mean, you've got the NBA Finals, you got the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Stanley Cup final going on. We've got a Euro Cup for all my football, soccer fans out there. I believe that starts next week. You've got the tennis, you've got the horse racing. There was a massive upset this week in cricket, and I can tell you this, guys, our friends over at FanDuel. I'm an active FanDuel user. It's arguably my favorite sports book that I'm betting with. It's just so simple. It's industry standard. It's best practice. That's what FanDuel follows with their sports book. Incredible bonuses. And look, if you bet the Rockies today, they were a pretty significant underdog, so you would have made some good money as the Rockies take down the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 6-5. But do me a favor, go check out our friends over at FanDuel at FanDuel.com/lockedon, the best sports book that you can be involved with right now. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Hope you guys are doing well. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on the Locked On Rockies audio feed, do us a favor, head over to the Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button because this Locked On Rockies postcast is just the start of the content that's going to be coming between Locked On Sports and Mile High Sports, and you're not going to want to miss out. So make sure to smash that subscribe button and follow us on social at Locked On Sports, at Mile High Sports, and at Media by AP. But when we left off in the first segment, the Rockies had themselves a 3-0 lead. Tovar, delivering early in the game to put the Rockies up 1-0 in the first inning. He then hits a home run in the sixth inning, and then Eleris Montero comes around to score after a Jake Cave base hit to center field in the top of the sixth inning. But this is where things get kind of crazy. And let me throw out Ryan Feltner's stat line for you guys real quick before we talk about how crazy things got. Feltner finishes with 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits. He only gives up 2 hits in those 5 1/3 innings pitched. 4 runs, none of them earned. So that's why I want to preface this before we talk about what happened here. 1 walk and 7 strikeouts gets his ERA down to 5.74. Feltner was great today. So like I said, I don't think the stat line, he probably could have gone 6 full innings, had the defense not gotten him into some trouble or had the defense failed to get him out of trouble, rather, I should say. So the Rockies up 3-0, the Cardinals in at the bottom of the sixth. We talk about this every time it is possible. Matt Carpenter draws a leadoff walk, so that was definitely not a good thing for Ryan Feltner. You don't want to see that, but that is the reality of what happens here. So Carpenter draws the leadoff walk. Daniel Carlson, then hits a single to right field. That gets Carpenter to second, so you've got 2 runners on with no outs. He does end up getting a strikeout, as Feltner does, but then Alec Burleson reached on a fielding error from Alan Trejo. So this was the first error of the inning. So you're looking at probably 2 on with 2 out here, and the throwing error from Alan Trejo really sets them up in a sticky situation because, like I said, the approach for a pitcher and for a defense and just the overarching approach when you have 2 outs versus 1 is very, very different. So that was a botched play from Alan Trejo, and then that leads to Paul Goldschmidt. He hits a double play ball to first baseman Eleris Montero, and that would have gotten the Rockies out of the inning even after the previous error from Alan Trejo because that would have made up for it. And Montero moving to his right, fields the ball cleanly, but then just airmails the ball to the left of the shortstop. And that, with the bases loaded, is not good because the ball ended up like trickling down like, I don't know what part it is, but like when the wall kind of sticks out, it's almost like the divide between the early part of the outfield and the deep part of the outfield. So it sunk into a corner, which made it hard for the Rockies to recover. And I mean, you're not always backing up aggressively a throw to second base like that because it's a rather routine play. And that's what ends up happening. And so the Cardinals actually end up getting 3 runs across off of that error from Eleris Montero, which absolutely just is a crushing way with Ryan Feltner being up, dominating the St. Louis Cardinals team, to have the Alan Trejo error and then to have the Eleris Montero error to essentially gift the St. Louis Cardinals 3 runs. And now look, like I said, Matt Carpenter draws the walk, Carlson hits a single. They earned those 2 base runners, but you should have really been able to limit the damage if you were the Colorado Rockies in that situation. And I know Ryan Feltner was probably frustrated at that. You don't want to go too hard on these guys, but that Montero error was just bad. And if they would have lost the game because of an instance like that, I mean, that would have just been absolutely brutal. And we had talked about it last night. The St. Louis Cardinals are not exactly, lighting the scoreboard up this year. They're actually in second to last place in runs scored in the National League, ahead of only the Miami Marlins. So, this is a team that has struggled to consistently generate runs on a game in and game out basis. So to essentially gift them 3 runs is really frustrating here for the Rockies. But like I said, thankfully it doesn't matter. Thankfully the Rockies are able to bounce back, and we'll get to that here in a moment as well. But that was frustrating to give up the runs in that manner. So with the game tied at 3-3, Victor Vodnik replaces Ryan Feltner, so that ends his day with those 5 1/3 innings pitched. And then he proceeds to strike out Nolan Gorman, but then old pal Nolan Arenado actually puts the Cardinals up 4-3 with an RBI single to left field. That brings home Paul Goldschmidt. So when it's all said and done, the Rockies started the bottom half of the 6th inning with a 3-run lead, and it essentially evaporated into thin air, due to that leadoff walk and the clutch single from Carlson, but then really just amplified. The only reason it was tied up and it wasn't maybe 3-1 or 3-2 is because just of 2 awful, egregious errors, one from second baseman Alan Trejo and one from first baseman Eleris Montero. So that was brutal. You hate to see that. And then, like I said, the Cardinals end up going up 4-3 thanks to that Nolan Arenado RBI. But before we continue along with the progression in the game flow here, let's hone in on Ryan Feltner today, because he was just sensational. As we said, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 4 runs, none of them earned though. No earned runs for Ryan Feltner. His ERA actually falls now to 5.74. He also had 7 strikeouts. So that's what you're looking for. And he had to bounce back after a rough outing, did Feltner. And, here's the thing. If the Rockies are going to be able to get some consistent pitching, like this out of Cal Quantrill and Ryan Feltner, and tomorrow we got Ty Block, who we'll talk about in our 3 strike segment coming up, but it's only going to help. And thank God the bullpen does their job. Victor Vodnik comes in, gives it the 1 earned run to Nolan Arenado, but you get an inning and 2/3 out of him, 2 hits, 1 run, and 2 strikeouts. His ERA down to 2.68 now. And then Jordan Beeks does his job, and Tyler Kinley does his job. I mean, look, it's just so often where the Rockies bullpen is going to be reliant or responsible for a lot of these blown leads. Today was just a great example of sound pitching from the starters and from the bullpen. It was the defense, which is not normally the case, that you were a little bit worried about here today. But Feltner actually entered into today's game with a 1-5 record and an ERA of 6.22. He was electric for the Rockies today. He struck out 4 in the early going, and he struck out 4 of the first 6 batters he's faced, and the Cardinals didn't have a hit until the middle of this game. So like I said, Feltner only giving up 2 base hits in his 5 1/3 innings pitched. Yeah, absolutely love to see that, because if they're going to be able to get some consistency out of a guy like Ryan Feltner, it's only going to help this team's cause as they try to stay competitive and build for the future, moving over. And Feltner's a guy who's 27. We'll see what his future is with this organization, but today was good stuff for Mr. Feltner. But continuing along with the ball game flow here, so as we said, the Cardinals go up 4-3 with the Nolan Arenado RBI single, scoring Paul Goldschmidt. But the Rockies punched right back, and you love to see that, a little bit of resiliency from this Colorado Rockies team, because in the top of the 7th inning, the starting pitcher Kyle Gibson was replaced by Andrew Kittredge out of the bullpen, and he initially got Alan Trejo, who had an interesting game today, to fly out for the first out. But then Charlie Blackmon, who we've been talking about, a couple of times already throughout the course of this show, he ripped a double to right field and proceeds to steal third base. Charlie Blackmon, how old is Chuck? 37? Let's look this up real quick. It's not very often you see guys steal third base in general, let alone guys who are, on the back 9 of their career. 37-year-old Charlie Blackmon getting on his high horse and stealing third base. That was absolutely incredible to see. And so, that's going to set them up with an opportunity. And then as we were saying with this lineup configuration, Brenton Doyle then does his job in that 2-hole. He rips a single to left field. Charlie Blackmon comes home, and the game's tied at 6-4. So just absolutely fantastic stuff. And Ezequiel Tovar then coming up, he's red hot today. He finished with 4... Where did you go, Mr.? Yeah, 4 base hits today for Ezequiel Tovar and 4 RBI. Well, the final 2 RBI come on this at bat in the 7th inning, because Tovar proceeds to rip his 2nd home run of the day to left field, and that puts the Rockies up 6-4. And that would be just enough for the Rockies in this ball game. Matt Carpenter for the Cardinals ended up adding a solo home run there in the bottom of the 7th inning, and that's all she wrote for the scoring in this game. So, Ezequiel Tovar doing his part today, Charlie Blackmon doing his part today, Brenton Doyle doing his part today, and you love the speed on display. Like I said, Charlie Blackmon turning back the clock to do his thing. Brenton Doyle, who's been hitting towards the bottom of the lineup, getting an opportunity to hit in that 2-hole, taking full advantage of that. You love to see it. And then Ezequiel Tovar just continues to blossom in front of our eyes. So beyond that, 0-for-4 day for Ryan McMahon, 2 strikeouts. He's been a little bit of a slump. Eleris Montero, we talked about, a clutch base hit, his only hit of the game, but he ends up coming around to score, so it was a big one for Montero. Like we've talked about, guys, just stringing hits together. And then outside of that, nothing for Stallings. Jake Cave with an RBI single. Tuglia had a base hit, and then Alan Trejo also added a hit. All in all, 12 hits for the Rockies today, 5 for 10 with runners in scoring position, and a 1 2-out RBI, and that coming from Jake Cave. So that's the difference. Clutch, timely hitting, a nice volume of hitting, not a total onslaught, but, when you've got your young guys picking you up and you've got older guys turning back the clock and journeymen, showing why they should be able to stick in the big leagues, you're going to figure out a way to grind out some of these wins. So, and I think kind of here before we hit a break too, I just want to continue to drive home the fact that Yeah, the final score of this game was 6-5, but it probably should have been closer to 6-2 or 6-3. The Rockies gifted the St. Louis Cardinals 3 runs in the bottom of the sixth inning off of those errors from Alan Trejo and Eleris Montero. So, you want to see them clean it up defensively. We know Montero's had some issues defensively in the past. He has been better. So let's hope that's just a bump in the road. They're able to bounce back defensively because you don't want to lose. Your bullpen's already shaky enough. Your starting pitching's already shaky enough. You don't want your defense to start being a reason as to why you take yourself out of some of these games. But like I said, just a good performance across the board for the most part from the Rockies, highlighted by Ryan Feltner start and Ezequiel Tovar at the plate. So love to see that a 6-5 dub for the Colorado Rockies. But let's hit our final break. And when we come back, we'll get ready to put a bow on the show. I'll give you guys my 3 strikes, my 2 major takeaways from the game today. And then we'll also take a quick look at what's going down on the diamond tomorrow as well. All that and more when we come back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro, back in a few minutes. All right, guys, let me tell you real quick about our friends over at Stitch Fix. You know that instant confidence boost you get from an outfit that makes you look really good, and I mean really good? That's what I get with my friends over at Stitch Fix, guys. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, your size, and your budget. They do all the shopping for you, and it's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. And it is summertime, so, time to put the hoodies away, maybe get the jeans, away in the closet. It's shorts, t-shirts, collared shirts. Our friends over at Stitch Fix are going to take care of you. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps find you new on-trend favorites that will work for you. I just give my stylist my size, my style, and my budget preferences. I order boxes when I want and how I want. No subscriptions required. I cannot tell you how incredible that is. In a world where I've got probably 15 subscriptions going on at any given time, it's so nice that our friends over at Stitch Fix are not going to make you subscribe in that type of manner. They send me 5 just for me pieces plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice with each box. I keep what works and I send back the rest. My stylist always sends me just the right pieces and the fit is always on point. It's almost like they have a degree in this stuff, guys. I don't know how they do it, but they just get me. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. I don't like to shop and they save me that time and effort. Plus, I get outfits that make me look good and feel really good. And if you don't love something, just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free with our friends over at Stitch Fix. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/MLB and get $20 off your first fix. That's stitchfix.com/MLB for $20 off. Stitchfix.com/MLB must redeem within 7 days of signing up. But be sure to check out our friends over at Stitch Fix, guys. I always like to say this. It's a casual Saturday. I took my Waffle House nap. That's why I'm in a t-shirt and hat. But at the end of the day, you're popping out to Lodo. You're popping out to Rhino. You're popping out on South Broadway. You're going to want a little get up. You're going to want to stand out, right? And our friends over at Stitch Fix are going to take great care of you. So tell them Locked On MLB sent you. And again, folks, the website, stitchfix.com/MLB. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm Aniello Piro. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Make sure to smash that subscribe button as well. Looking real forward to continuing along with this show throughout the rest of Rockies season, and excited for what's on the horizon as well as this partnership continues between Mile High Sports and Locked On Sports. But it is 3 strikes time. My 2 big takeaways and a quick look ahead to what's on tap for the Rockies in their next game. So let's start with Ezequiel Tovar here once again. 22 years old. Sky's the limit for this kid. If he's able to add some power to his swing and like I said, hit 20 to 25 home runs on a consistent basis in his age 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 seasons, the Rockies are going to have one of them ones on this roster. Brenton Doyle doing his thing today as well, and Nolan Jones. Like those are your 3 core players that you can build around. And I know that there's a top prospect who's reportedly potentially going to be called up for the Rockies. I'll save some thoughts for that for tomorrow's show. But this year, you're starting to see a little bit of the foundation. We know the pitching's still an issue. We know that the bullpen's still an issue as well. But between Ezequiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, Nolan Jones, you've got some really nice young players that are all on a pretty similar timeline that you can get excited about. So today for Tovar, 4 hits, 10 total bases, 4 RBI, comes around to score twice. He's hitting .294 on the year. And it was also nice to see him bounce back because he was 0 for 8 so far in the series entering into this game. So he had not been, and he struggled in that series against Cincinnati. I think he put up 2 hits in that final game against Cincinnati, but the 2 previous games, not so good. And then his struggles continued over in the first 2 games of the series against St. Louis. Again, 0 for 8, but 2 home runs, 4 hits, and 10 total bases on the day. He has been phenomenal, and he actually leads all Major League Baseball shortstops with 7 defensive run saves. His fielding percentage is .993, and he has a 1.1 defensive WAR, 5th among everyone at his position, or 5th among all positions. So, the Rockies have themselves one of not just a good young player, one of the best young players in the game today. So, you absolutely love to see that. And like I said, I mean, if this is a guy that can continue to develop some power, the Rockies are going to – they've always had a good history of developing shortstops, right? Troy Tulowitzki, Trevor Story, and now maybe Ezequiel Tovar is the next great Rockies shortstop. This is probably a bad comparison, but like how the Green Bay Packers always just end up with like great quarterbacks. They go Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now it looks like Jordan Love's going to be the truth. It's kind of a similar dynamic with the Rockies here where Tulo, Story, and now Tovar. It's crazy because I was one of those guys that was disappointed when Trevor Story was, not back with the Rockies, but hope Trevor's doing okay, but the injuries have just really derailed his career as of late. And look, now you've got a guy who's 22 years old in Tovar who has the potential to be a face of your franchise and a next great Rocky shortstop. So you love to see that today from him with the 4 RBI, 4 hits, 10 total bases. And we'll see what he can do tomorrow in the series finale. So also Ryan Feltner, we got to give him his flowers, man. What a showing from him. Just dominant today. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 4 runs, none of them earned, and 7 strikeouts. He was absolutely on point for the Rockies today. Gets his ERA down to 5.74. And, the Rockies rotation does not have a lot of known commodities. Like you probably have heard the name Ryan Feltner. You've probably heard the name Cal Quantrill. You've probably heard the name Ty Block. But these guys, they're a little hit or miss. And they were very good in May, but their first initial starts in June have not been so good. But hopefully this is a sign of things to come from Ryan Feltner and the rest of this Rocky starting rotation. And we talked about it. Victor Vodnik does his job for the most part. Jordan Beeks comes in and Tyler Kinley as well. So for the Rockies today, the 9 innings pitched by the pitching staff collectively, they go 5 hits total, only 1 earned run, and they strike out 12. And look, we know that this Cardinals offense is not exactly lighting the world on fire right now, but they've still got Nolan Arenado, they've still got Paul Goldschmidt, and they're still going to take professional at-bats game in and game out. So just a good bounce-back performance for the Rockies today. I love to see it. You love to see it. And hopefully, with they lead this series now 2-1. And my third strike is tomorrow's game. We don't know who's going to be on the mound as of right now for the St. Louis Cardinals, at least last that I checked, but it will be Ty Block on the mound for the Rockies. He's 2-3 with a 4.54 earned run average. He had a rough outing in his last start. 5 innings pitched, 10 hits, 4 earned runs, gives up 1 home run, only striking out 2. So hopefully Ty Block's going to be able to bounce back for the Rockies tomorrow. And let me confirm this. I believe this is like right around a 12:15 start time tomorrow. So it is an early game. Yeah, 12:15 Mountain Time start tomorrow for the Rockies and the Cardinals in the series finale. So hopefully we're talking about a series victory for the Rockies, and hopefully they're able to continue, some solid starting with, or some solid pitching with Ty Block, and then hopefully that carries over to the bullpen, because I don't think the Rockies have a rest day. Let's see. I know they play on Monday. They start a series with the Twins, so then they'll play that on. Is that a 2-game set or a 3-game set? But the point that I'm trying to make, it's a 3-game set, so they'll play on June 12th. I don't think they have another rest day until potentially the 13th. Yeah, so the Rockies' next rest day is not coming until this coming Thursday. So you're talking about consecutive series and games against the Reds, the Cardinals, and then the Twins. So, the bullpen's going to be taxed. So you need your starting pitchers to give you some innings today. That's the only criticism I would have is, Ryan Feltner only going 5 1/3. This bullpen has been so up and down that the longer the starters can go, the less pressure and strain they have to put on the bullpen, the better chance the Rockies are going to have to win some of these games. So a good day on this Saturday for the Rockies, though. They take down the St. Louis Cardinals by a final score of 6-5. Ezequiel Tovar, come on down, what a day. And Ryan Feltner, come on down, what a day. It was a good win for the Rockies across the board, and they are now 23-41 on the year. St. Louis Cardinals at 30-33. But that's going to do it for me, folks. Appreciate you guys tuning in to today's Locked On Rockies postcast. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Again, be sure to subscribe subscribe to this Locked On Denver YouTube channel. Shout out to our friends over at FanDuel and Stitch Fix. Be sure to check them out. And Locked On Sports, guys, your team every day. Will be here tomorrow afternoon as well, hopefully talking about a series victory for the Colorado Rockies. 6-5, your final score. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your Saturday.